Hello, everyone. It's Cindy, and I'm back with another weekly reading. And as the energy has got a lot of Pisces, and Pisces rules the feet, I thought I would come in with a bit of humor with my beautiful rainbow Crocs that were gifted to me by my children this year. Now, if you know me, I am not afraid of wearing bright colors and even sometimes colors that are most people wouldn't want to wear that much color or those colors together. And yet, when I got these shoes, I was like, what? You might be pushing me a little too far now. I might be rainbow wisdom, but these are crazy. And then my one son got me the little potion pot, and my daughter a little daisy. And I just, I didn't have the heart to change these shoes. I decided I'm going to just be the rainbow croc mom from now on. So that's what I am. And Pisces rules the feet, and kind of like wisdom, which my rainbow wisdom theme. Pisces rules the sage, the mystic, and then of course it's followed by the baby of the zodiac, Aries, which is very childlike, joyful, and sometimes quite silly. And those two energies, Pisces and Aries, are very strong in the sky at the moment. So I just couldn't resist bringing my Crocs into our mignette today. And then the oils, the one has no lid because I've just used up the last few drops. I don't know if you do this, but I put the water that's going into my diffuser into the bottle and get the last little bits out because I don't like to waste. And these two, I normally wouldn't put citrus bliss and spearmint together, but even there it feels like the dynamic between citrus bliss being more Aries and spearmint being more Pisces. And these two signs are kind of like miles apart. It's like the baby and the wise old sage, and yet both of them connect through the ending of one cycle and the beginning of another. And that feels very pertinent for us this week. We are in Pisces season still, but there are few planets in Aries, and there will be a conjunction, like a meeting up in the sky of Venus and Jupiter in Aries this week. So that's quite a big deal. They are the two planets that are thought of to be the benefic planets, or the most beneficial planets, and they will be meeting in Aries. So look at where around 10 degrees of Aries is in your chart. You could even look from 8 to 12 degrees in your chart, and you will see where that is happening for you. Choose your card between 1 and 4, and let's jump in. If you chose 1, lucky you, because that is the point at which we feel the clarity and the new ideas. With Ace of Swords, it's this like new beginning. So for me, that is really bringing in I've done a cycle, Pisces, and now I'm ready for some kind of new clarity of thought, ideas, beginnings. This is exciting, and I have a certain amount of focus for it. Although you can see in this version of the Ace of Swords, there is that sort of spiraling staircase. And I mean, that's what our minds tend to be, a bit of a spiral. And sometimes we spiral into focus, and sometimes we spiral out of focus and out of control with our thinking, like falling into old thought paradigms and buying into fear mongering that we may see through the media or anywhere else. So what's interesting about the Ace of Swords is it's the only upright card for this week, and it kind of is following as if we almost had these huge aha moments, and then suddenly the fear kicks in. And so that is, for me, the point at which we really need to pay a little bit of attention and be mindful, because this week takes us into the month of March. And March is arguably the biggest month of the year because two big heavy hitting planets are moving sign. One will happen not within this week, but next week. I think it's the 8th, when Saturn moves from Aquarius to Pisces, and he will spend the next 2.5 to 3 years in that sign. So it's a big deal. He doesn't move easily, and he wouldn't have been in Pisces for 28 to 30 years and before he arrives there now. And within this week as well, I think it may be Thursday, Mercury goes into Pisces into the same degree that the following week Saturn enters Pisces. So it's almost like we're going to get a mental Ace of Swords moment of aha, and then when Saturn moves in, that's where the work begins. We get the mental awareness with Mercury and the let's do the work and get this thing manifested, really. Let's do that work, materialize it. But then we get the fear. So Three of Wands in its ideal upright form is where we're feeling like, okay, did the work. Now I did what I was meant to do, and now I can sit and wait and be ready to reap the rewards of a job well done. But when it's upside down, we're feeling the fear. We're not dreaming big enough. And I mean, Ace of Swords is dreaming big. It's seeing the big picture in so many ways. Seeing the big picture, but being in the infancy stage of the big picture, being at the seed point, but recognizing that this acorn is going to become a big oak. When we then go into the Three of Wands in protection, it's like, I don't know, maybe I shouldn't expect to be an oak. Maybe I shouldn't expect to be a whole forest of oaks. I mean, that's just too much. Maybe I should aim smaller. And we really need to manage that fear, internal fear narrative that may show up for us, especially if Three of Wands is the card that you chose. That is a fiery card, and we need to be cautious of sort of dousing our passion and our spark and our zest. Then the Chariot card, which we've already gotten a few times this year, and I mentioned it in our very first reading for the year, that this is the card of the year. It is a 7-year, therefore Chariot is our focal point for the year, which means that every time it comes up in a reading, it has a little bit of extra oomph. And again, it's upside down. So in its upright form, it's like go, 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 momentum. Sorry, I don't think I mentioned, I said Saturn moving into Pisces. I didn't say that the other big March energy is that Pluto, which is an even slower moving planet by a long way, is going to be moving into Aquarius as well. So this is going to be a month of really great intensity. And for me, I almost feel like these 3 reversed cards at the end, rather than being, oh no, my energies are turned around, I don't have the forward movement with Chariot, for example, that I should have, they're actually telling us the energy is moving very intensely, very fast. It's pushing with these 2 powerful karmic kind of planets, pushing us into something. So even when it feels like we're not getting things done at the speed at which we want to, or the way in which we want to, we need to recognize that the energy is crazy big. Therefore, sometimes we actually need to slow it down. So for the Chariot, if we are racing ahead and we don't take stock and check in, that's a problem, which absolutely leads us into the Hermit in protection, which is saying to us, you know, you don't want to be doing all that healing work, like Saturn work or even Pluto work. You don't want to be doing all the work and never getting healed kind of thing. So, of course, there's always more work for all of us to do. None of us will ever be fully healed and whole without being ready to ascend. And some of us will not have done that even when we ascend. But the point with the Hermit in protection is saying, if you don't take some downtime with yourself, if you don't give yourself the space to check in, then actually you are looking like the duck on the water where you're floating happily on the surface for all the world to see. And underneath, you're paddling like crazy and just feeling utterly exhausted. So think about what lies beneath. And you know, I feel like this is especially important for those of us, myself included, who really do a lot of work on ourselves, on our shadow selves, on all the archetypal energies that are showing up. And we put in the work and we put in the work, and we're so busy putting in the work that maybe we forget to actually do a personal check-in and say, well, how am I feeling with all of that? How am I dealing? How am I doing? What do I actually need? Am I doing too much work? Do I need to just take a chill pill and have a little fun? Like, what is going on with me? So that Hermit card for me, and even the Chariot, you know, those 2 are saying they're both major arcana, and 7 and 9, they're early in the, you know, around the same space in the journey, and they're saying, yes, stuff is happening, but you won't be able to appreciate it if you burn out. I mean, that's another energy I'm feeling a bit of here, is burnout. So check in with yourself deeply. Be honest with yourself if you don't feel like you're coping. You know, I think we also have this strong desire to look like we're floating happily like a duck on water, even though nobody sees what lies beneath and how fast those little feet are paddling to stay afloat. I think that that's kind of like a badge of honor for so many of us to push through the pain. And this week kind of feels to me like it's saying if that's what you're doing it wrong. You need to be cognizant of your energy levels. You need to be cognizant of the energy levels, not only your own, but the ones in the ethers around us. And then be mindful of things like the 4 agreements, where the one agreement is not to take things personally, because as much as this energy is impacting you, it is impacting everyone in your life, and it is impacting everyone that you don't even know who's impacting everyone in your life. Like it's exponential. Pluto is a generational planet. Pluto moving signs into a sign. He's moving out of spending 15 years in a sign and beginning his move into where he will spend 20 years. That is a big deal. We are beginning to shift generations, basically. The babies that are going to start being born now will be a whole different Pluto generation. And I don't want to get too complicated because Pluto is not going to stay in Aquarius for very long before he moves back into Capricorn, and then eventually he does move back into Aquarius, but then he's there for the 20-year cycle. So it is a big deal. It's much bigger than we can contain, control. So maybe look at those things as well. Where am I trying to control situations? And then, do I actually have control? Because for the most part, we'll find that we don't. So how do we feel into the flow of Pisces? Go with the flow, change direction if we need to, as Pisces would tell us, but then also get pointy and focused as Aries wants. Take things on, charge ahead, but finding the balance between those two very contrasting energies, Pisces and Aries, and that brings us back to where we began. Those two energies feel super strong this week, and we really are going to need to, I think, enforce a little reflective time with ourselves, because there is so much energy pushing us forwards, but the cards telling us that we may not feel that forward momentum, or we may burn out and have no forward momentum, even though the energy, it's like the tide keeps pushing us, even if we're not doing any work. And then again, do we want to be looking pretty on the water surface, but actually not coping? Or do we want to just float and let the tide take us where it will? These are blurry, boundaried questions because they're different for each of us. So it's a time to check in for yourself. And I find as we get to the later signs of the zodiac, which we've been traversing, and we're now in the final one of Pisces, we are in kind of like murky areas. It's less exacting. It's less black and white. It becomes more collective, connective. So yeah, you have to check in for some of these things. Whatever words I've used that sort of trigger you, that speak to you, those are where you should start to look for yourself to get the answer that best suits you about you. And you're the best person to do the job. So thanks for watching. Have a beautiful week. And remember, I am available for private readings of many different varieties if you are interested. And I appreciate likes, shares, follows, comments, and all. Thank you so much for watching.